Okay, good evening, everyone. I've got 6:30, so we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the August 14th meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. There are no public hearings scheduled tonight. That brings us to new business. So we'll go ahead and start with the first item under new business, which is Fidelity Investments in the former Merrimack Realty Trust, FID, owner review of the recommendation to the planning board regarding a waiver of full site plan review to permit utility upgrades on the Fidelity campus. The parcel is located at 1 Spartan Way in the I-2 Industrial and Aquifer Conservation Districts and Wellhead Protection Area. The tax map is 3C, Lot 191. And is that what you gentlemen are here to talk to us about tonight? If you would, just before you start, make sure the microphone's on and the green light will get pretty bright.
And can I get the spelling of your name as well for
Yes,
the record?
it's Eric Gerard, ERICGERADE.
ADE?
Correct.
Thank you.
I'm a civil engineer with VHB out of our Bedford, New Hampshire office. And I can bring up our site plans if you'd like, to give a little context.
We had them on our computer screen.
Oh, you
as
got it,
well,
okay.
so We're not ignoring the screen. We're just-
So I can go? We're good?
Yeah.
Excellent. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much. Ken Dodd is here from Fidelity Investments as well, if there are any other questions or operational questions needed. So we're here tonight for planning board recommendation for a project at Fidelity Investments to upgrade some utility infrastructure. They are proposing to replace a switchgear at the 1 Spartan Way building, as well as some new overhead wire infrastructure to provide a redundant feed into the campus. It's an important project for Fidelity to provide this redundant feed in the event that the main feed does go down. So we're here because we replaced with overhead wires, or we are putting down new overhead wires along a portion of Digital Drive and the former toll road on the northeasterly portion of the site, which is essentially where the feed comes across Everett Turnpike and also where the solar farm ties in with their interconnect. So they're proposing new overhead wire infrastructure towards 1 Spartan Way down that road. That area is within the aquifer protection, partially within aquifer protection, as well as the wellhead protection area. So that's why we're before you tonight. Planning board, we were before them in July last month. They did approve the project conditionally, making sure that we got all appropriate comments and incorporated them into the final plans from the various boards, departments, so yourselves and, fire department and in-town staff. So as far as the project goes, its overall site plan shows generally where on the site it's located. As you can see, the hatched areas essentially running from the Everett Turnpike Old Toll Road connection all the way in the westerly direction up towards 1 Spartan Way. And then there are some other improvements within the campus that they needed to do a new connection into the building with a new manhole as part of the upgrades for that service, which is all underground once they get off the overhead lines. It is about 3,200 feet. Going overhead was the most appropriate way to go due to high ledge and other groundwater and conservation areas that are out there, wetlands on the edges of the road. So part of this project, they are going to need to trim some trees. We're keeping them as minimal as possible along that toll road to get the utility infrastructure in, as well as proper clearances from the wires. So we are holding 3 feet off the curb or the edge of the pavement for those utility poles, and then clearing 10 feet off of the pavement for the overhead wire clearances. Trimming where we can, except where absolutely necessary to take down certain trees. We are staying outside of all resource areas, wetlands. Where we are in close proximity, we are proposing erosion control measures, primarily silt socks around those spot locations where the utility will be drilling in the utility poles. There are no new impervious areas or no new structures like buildings associated with the project. building permit was not required by the building department for the project as well. So primarily just a utility improvement project. So we're here to open it up to any questions if you have some, and we're happy to answer them.
You're putting in poles all along this way?
Correct. There's about 24 poles in total, I believe, over 3,200 feet.
Can you just point to on here that where will the underground portion of this be?
I can zoom. Okay, I'll go back to the overall site. So generally in this area where that small C2 is, that's where the last overhead will come across. And then there'll be a riser underground into the new switchgear there. They're going to be utilizing existing conduit, essentially that whole run where you see the C2 to C2. And then there's a small portion of new underground right outside the loading dock and into the building because we couldn't use the existing infrastructure under that run. So we needed to add a new manhole and then a new underground in. And that's kind of zoomed in on these two sheet C2 showing the new underground over by the existing switchgear. It should be noted the existing switchgear will be removed and there's the new Vista switchgear that they're utilizing for the new service coming in that replaces that. And then the redundant feed's also tied into that. And then on the bottom left, it's showing the new underground connecting the existing manhole to the new manhole and into the building.
For erosion control during the process, this is something that we're looking for in all the projects now. There's a reference on page 11 to hay bales possibly being used. We look for straw rather than hay because of the possibility of invasive seeds coming in.
Gotcha.
So I appreciate the attention to detail you had on this. I was looking at it this morning, but hay jumps out at me.
We will make sure that. hay is
Just
not
make sure that
used.
erosion control takes that into consideration, please.
Thank you. Will do.
And the silt socks, do you specify what they're gonna be filled with?
Yes, it should.
I couldn't quite see it. It was pretty small.
Where did that one go?
Right there.
There we are. Yeah, so it's usually a compost material that is installed. It's a compost material that Silt Sock, that brand has in it.
So we're guaranteed everything's dead, no invasive seeds, nothing.
Correct. It's similar. It will be the same that we used on the solar farm area as well. That's been approved previous.
Anyone else? Oops. Okay, well, I'll craft a memo to the planning board, just letting them know that you came and presented to us and that we didn't have any, we didn't identify any areas of concern other than the change of the wording on hay. No, thank you for coming.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, it takes us to the next item under new business, which is Doherty Zabolis LLC, applicant owner, review for recommendation to the planning board regarding final approval of a site plan to construct a two-story, 15,000 square foot office/warehouse building and the associated site improvements. The parcel is located at 101 Herrick Street in the C2 General Commercial, I-1 Industrial and Aquifer Conservation Districts. The tax map is 3D-2 Lot 020. Okay, good evening.
I don't know if you guys need this or you have it on your screen or anything.
Don't unless you have a thumb drive or something, but we can work off the easel. Yeah, that's all right.
We have stuff in your
Yeah.
packet.
We do have a printed, yeah. If you would, sir, before you begin, just say your name for the record. Did he leave the green light on?
Yep.
On the microphone?
Yep, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Chris Gaida, and I'm a certified wetland scientist and soil scientist with Fieldstone Land Consultants. And I am familiar with this property from a couple of years ago. I did the wetlands delineation here. And basically, this is a site plan amendment, what I understand, speaking with the engineers, that this was permitted for my box facility a couple of years ago through the town as well as through the state on the wetlands. There's some wetlands impact on the site. So this is basically an amendment that we're looking for some comments on if there's anything, if the board feels differently from the previous approval.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of this was dated 2017, and that goes back to when my box was being considered.
Correct, yeah.
I think I noticed in the notes here, the wetland delineation, you said you did that? That was
Yes.
yeah. Back in 2017?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
It,
yeah. So that, as I recall, I mean, that's, a lot of that is really a kind of a whole drainage, stuff off the state highway, most of that, all that wetland area. And, you know, as far as the, you know, the accuracy of the delineation, you know, typically we like to update it every 5 years or so. You know, I have gone out there and looked at it. It's pretty much the same. So it's, you know, we didn't redelineate anything from the previous approval, but.
There was mention of a special exception regarding wetlands impacts that was granted by the zoning board in 2017. Do you remember offhand what that was? What was the exception relevant to here? I have not researched the project at all.
Yeah, I don't off the top of my head. I mean, I know I can flip to the sheet.
It's page 3.
The wetland area here, in the hatched area, and then the proposed, parking and driveway here, so, I apologize, but I assume it's for the access, roadway,
Thank you.
accessing the building and the property.
right, because the access road does impact that wetland.
Right.
Do you know how many square feet or?
I don't off the top of my head. I apologize. I got a little bit of late notice that this meeting was happening tonight, but yeah. I could probably
Yeah.
find it, but it would take me a minute or
We,
two.
we had enough materials here. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it did, certainly we were able to see the pre and post summary,
Yeah,
which is usually something we focus on. I assume all that impact to the wetland was essential to create
right,
the width of
Yeah.
access road or driveway needed.
correct.
As I said to the gentleman from Fidelity, we want to make sure for erosion control that straw is used rather than hay to minimize the exposure of the soil to any non-native plants.
Right, yeah. We've had, unfortunately, a lot of times the notes tend to say hay bales.
Yeah, and I was put here to look for that, so.
Merrimack is famous for that. And I hope it's been changed on the plans because it's usually me that catches the brunt of it.
Well, there's even a My Box reference on page 9, but
Yeah,
I knew that,
so,
that a lot of the hard work was done back
Yeah.
then.
Could you just go over the stormwater drainage plan? Where's water gonna be going to now and how's it gonna flow?
I mean, most of the drainage, stormwater is in this infiltration chamber system under the parking here.
Right.
For the building itself. Line from this one. So right in here, basically a overflow structure, which I think it gets discharged from, this is a culvert under the highway here, and this basically just discharges down here and goes through, to take this treatment swale in this basin, and then gets discharged out. I think it's over the edge here.
Chris?
Yeah.
When you're standing.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sure. There's another basin over here. Again, another drainage area here that comes down across the highway. This gets actually, so all this is coming from off-site, and this gets culverted and then kind of bypasses all the site and then discharges out the bottom here. And this one's going through a riprap swale. And it's for the building itself and the pavement. This also gets basically channeled past all of this facility here, so that this just discharges out here as well. Again, I don't have a lot of the engineering specifics, but I know that this was, typically they're tasked with, meeting the pre and post discharge requirements.
We did get that in our packet, despite all the new impervious surfaces. The post numbers did go down.
What's the maintenance on this system in Cambridge?
As far as the maintenance chambers,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fairly certain there's likely a note in the details here. I personally do not know of the specific manufacturer maintenance requirements, but that's something I can certainly talk to the engineers and look up and point out to you. I can send you an email and say, look at note 35 or whatever it is on the back here. There's a lot of them here. Probably here somewhere. Oh, look at that. Stormwater infiltration. So it looks like page 14 of 15. It's for Storm Tech chambers. As far as maintenance on this, again, I apologize, I don't know off the top of my head, but I can certainly look it up and get back to you on that. I'm not familiar with anything. Obviously it's under the parking lot. There may be some type of inspection ports as part of that. I'm not certain, but
Well, yeah, there's one.
yeah.
But I don't know if there's gonna be some kind of cleaning detail or something like that they're gonna have to for maintenance purposes, or if it's just gonna fill up.
Yeah, I'm sure that, typically they're designed to have sumps, before the water goes in there, so it strains out all of that, any sediment that might be in there. Obviously, to extend the lifespan of those, usually it'll be clean water, essentially clean, so you're not going to get in a lot of buildup. But again, I can double check on those specs and send them an email or whatever you need.
That would work. When do you go before the planning board?
I just do not know.
All right.
I apologize. It's very last minute, so I'm not sure when I think probably pretty quick. Generally it's going to be whatever the next meeting is.
Anyone else concerned? Well,
You said you look at the numbers and they're.
yeah, I have the pre and post. They went down for the 2-year, 10-year, 25 and 50-year. Yeah, it decreases of less than 1% for 2, 10 and 50-year. The 25 year flood numbers went down about 2.3%. So I'll send an email to the planning board, identify, that you came and presented to us, that we didn't have any significant concerns. We want to make sure any mention of hay was removed. And I'll tell them in there that we just want to make sure that the final site plan includes a review of the maintenance of that filtration system. We'll leave it at that. Anyone else? Any other questions? No? Well, thank you for coming
Thank
on
you
short
very much.
notice and presenting.
Sorry for not being more,
Now, the packet, I think, gave us a head start on knowing what questions we needed to ask.
thank you.
All right, that is everything we had under new business. Under other business, we added one item here. Well, originally, we weren't sure if we were going to do this this meeting, but the town council does have our student representative item on the upcoming town council meeting. That's this Thursday. And Andy was prepared to present on that, but I plan to attend. I do have something else that may keep me from being able to attend that meeting. Would one of you be able to go and field any questions and give a 30-second?
I am in the same situation you do. I should be able to attend unless they're playing Man's early. Then
Okay.
I'm going to pick her up, so. We'll see.
All right. Yeah, Andy said he was.
So, and just so everybody's aware, my flight is scheduled to fly back from Texas and I land at noon. But as anybody that's traveled recently knows, that may not happen. So just know that there's a chance that I could not be there if my flight doesn't get back at noon.
I'll try to do that.
It is simply, I think the hope is that somebody from the Conservation Commission can be there and express to the public, not necessarily the town council, but to the larger public, on Merrimack TV, why is it that we're looking for a charter change and what's the goal coming out of this? I think it's a pretty simple story to tell, but that's what they're looking for, is someone to communicate that to the public.
I'm confident one of the four of us.
Yeah.
will be there.
I think there's a great chance that I'm there.
Mhm.
It just, you never know with travel.
Right.
When's the meeting?
This Thursday. Yeah, and I think we've talked about this enough. I mean, there's pretty easy, a few sound bites. We know why this is important to us, why we want to
We
do
want
it.
to encourage youth involvement in the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
We
have
have received inquiries about it.
Mhm.
We're not
And-
looking for
and
a
there's-
solution in search of a problem.
Certainly, the cross-country team uses this parcel here. We had the student photography walking group that was using Greater Woods. There's already cross-pollination between us and the school district.
We're the school's biggest neighbor also.
There's that too.
Yeah, think of Greater Woods.
Yeah.
3 years ago, Wildcat Falls hosted a senior project from Merrimack High School to plant seedlings and wildflowers.
Yeah. There's enthusiasm for it. Okay, well, we'll communicate and make sure one of us is there. Really, that's everything we had under other business. The only other thing we probably should point out under other business is hunting season is close. So as we're out there on the parcels or communicating with the subcommittees, we should remind people it's close to blazed orange season. Put it on yourself, put it on your dog.
September 1st, the Bears get it, then everybody else.
Brings us to approval of the minutes. Would someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as amended from the July 24th meeting.
Motion by Gage, second by Ellen. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first, but I found nothing.
I also found nothing. No? I'm seeing no one that wants to call out revisions or corrections to the minutes, so all those in favor of approving the minutes? Vote carries 6-0. All right. Andrew, how do you feel about making a final motion?
Here we are. I move to adjourn.
Motion by Andrew, second by Gage. All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.